Good evening.
Hey everybody, this is H&D Abroad. I'm Herman.
And I'm Dee and Sleepy.
This is a one of our off the cuff times, and she has graciously allowed me to be here on our weekend show. As you come in, we ask always that you announce yourselves and let us know that you're here. I see some people are watching. Let us know you're here. Don't watch silently. Don't be anonymous, because on this channel, everything we do is a conversation. We're going straight to it and strong today. For those who may not know us, our channel is about exploring the world, expanding our horizons and our limitations. Dee and I are still working on finding our place abroad to possibly live. And so we use this platform to explore all the options, as well as build a community of people who have done this process, trying to help Black couples in particular to see moving abroad as their plan A, to expand their generational wealth and
create a healthier lifestyle.
create a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah, if being in community with people who are centering, hey, I want to do better for myself, and there's a whole world out there. I consider myself a world citizen. If that's the kind of community you want to be a part of, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so that you know when we go live. Because today we are opening the doors to a new community by talking to one of the administrators of a group that has been very helpful as we've been doing some of our pre-scouting research for East and Southeast Asia. So I want to go ahead and add in the founder.
Hey guys, how you guys doing, Henry?
Hey, what's going on, Henry?
Good. Doing well.
So go ahead, if you'll introduce yourself, introduce your group. We have put the information for the group in the description of this video, because and tell us about how long you've been around, and kind of how you have centered the tone of the group, which was really what brought me in and has kept me engaged.
Yeah, I started the group like a while back, giving my family is part Asian from the Philippines. My woman's from the Philippines, so I realized that after reading like the Filipino history and how close it is to like Black culture, something that you don't know. There's a guy called David Fagan that also served in the Filipino military during the uprising in the Philippines when the Americans went to the Philippines and were trying to recolonize it after the Spaniards. Americans are soldiers in the American military who said, no, we can't do this to these people. So there's a guy in Filipino history called David Fagan, who was born in Tampa Bay, Florida. And he's one of the heroes in the Philippines, but most Filipinos don't know about him. So long story short, my woman's from the Philippines. My kids are half Filipino. I've been to the Philippines. I go there every year. So I was like, what if I create a group? Because I've been on Facebook looking for that group where it's like it's all about like just Black expats, right? But I couldn't find that group because most of the groups we talk about expats were usually mean and rude to like people of color and stuff like that. Right. So I was like, what if I create an inclusive group where I could bring all of our people together, be it Nigerians, Ghanaians, Black Americans, every one of us who are thinking about living overseas or live overseas or have family members who are from overseas. So that's how I created like Black Expat Abroad, especially in Asia. And from there, we started keeping the group positive and stuff like that. And the goal is to grow the group to like 100,000 Black people strong from all over the world that live in Asia or think about moving to Asia or just think about just traveling in general. Because my overall goal is to like travel the world and expose we Black folks to like more parts of the world.
There are business owners, there are people who are saying, hey, I'm open to collaborating. They're sharing, hey, our family is coming. We are, we're slow traveling. I thought it was interesting that instead of just being focused on a country, like you were going strong on East and Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Why that approach? Because it sounds like there was some history behind how you got to that point.
I feel like East and Southeast Asia is much more closer to our culture, Black folks, be African Black or Jamaican Black or Black American in general, right? I feel like we can connect and fit in much better the South in the Southeast than places like, not to knock on Japan, I've been there, or Korea. I think they're far more I wouldn't say like out of touch, but they're far more into that mentality where um, uh, sometimes the color of your skin is much more, you know,
Much more relevant.
Mhm.
my, my experience in like the Philippines and Thailand, just given my experience, I think they're much more on your character than than the color of your skin. So
Mm.
that's why I sent to that group on that on Black Expat in Southeast Asia, because I feel like we as the human race needs to learn about each other, right? Be it Black, white, Asian, but I think we as Black folks and Asian folks need to learn much more about each other than what the media is portraying out there. Yeah, that's my critique. To bring
And I believe that we have historical crossings that go far beyond colonization of European colonization. So I agree with that.
Yeah, and you know, it's another historical facts. Nigerian Sierra Leoneans also fought the war in Burma. They were the ones who helped liberate Burma from the Japanese, because the British could not, help liberate Burma. This is a
Mm.
history fact that we Black folks have been in Asia for a very long time. Even in Japan, there is a samurai Yasuke. He was from, so we've been around for a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah.
we Black folks for a very long time.
Yeah, there's an anime out, a fictional anime out about his story. So yeah, that's true. Where are you from originally? Everybody listening, I know they hear you. I know they hear your clip. So where are you from originally?
Yeah, I'm from a country called Liberia. Okay, most people don't know about Liberia, but I would just give a quick history. Liberia was founded by Black Americans in the 1800s, 1821 to be exact. Uh, um, it was actually created as a safe haven for Black Americans. Up to this date now, the descendant of Black Americans, there are 250,000 folks who live in Liberia. Something the United States don't teach. I don't know why they don't teach that history, but Liberia history is just as close to these United States. That's why the name is Liberia, freedom, liberty, right? And the name Liberia means Black American, who happens to be in Africa. But it's something the United States don't teach. I don't know why they don't teach that, but they will teach you about Ghana, they will teach you about Nigeria, they will teach you about all the countries, but not Liberia. Because when blacks went to Liberia, right, they told the United States, this is our country. You're not going to come here to tell us what to do. You're not going to control us. We're going to create our own culture. We're going to create our own government, and we're going to govern ourselves, right? Long story short, there was a guy called Tolbert, and not to go into too much politics and stuff like that, but there's a guy called Tolbert who seen his previous the president he served on, because Tolbert was the vice president of Tubman, and Tubman was distant cousin to who? Harriet Tubman.
Wow.
But Tubman's family came from Georgia, right? They're free blacks that left Maryland state, went to Georgia and immigrated to Maryland County in Liberia. And Tubman was born in Liberia to a miracle Liberian family, because in Liberia we have two ethnicity, right? We have the native Liberians, who are just Africans, West Africans. Then we have the American Liberians, who are African American, Liberian of African American descent, and their population now is 250,000 of them that live in Liberia. So let's go back to Tubman. So when Tubman was president of Liberia, he was much more of a puppet of the United States, and he did not push this idea of Pan-Africanism and on how to liberate the continent. So when he passed away, his vice president Tolbert, who parents came from, I think they came from North Carolina and went to Liberia. His vice president Tolbert said, we are going to do things different. We're not going to be puppet of the United States. And when they invited him to Washington, he told them, if you guys want to work with Liberia, we're going to try to do things different. You guys are not going to go to South Africa and oppress Mandela. Okay. And I thought Liberia was one of the richest countries in the world. Liberia economy was doing well under Black Americans. It was prospering. It was, prospering. But giving Tolbert's political stance on some things about the United States, I will not go into what happened, but I think he got assassinated and they put in a native president. That's what you usually do. Put in a native president and they say, oh, now the country is run by a native guy called Doe who will try to bring the native back into power or something like that. That's what happened in Liberia. But Liberia is the only country, along with Ethiopia, that have not been colonized by no country. Okay, Liberia was not subjected to any kind of European colonization because when the African Americans went to Liberia, Black Americans, Washington used to protect that area away from Europeans, and being that the Black Americans, when they were being that they were so very educated, sophisticated, they also declared themselves as a free state. It took Washington 20 years to recognize Liberia. All the Black Americans. It took Washington 20 years. So after that, but if you read Liberia history, right, it will tell you. For me, I'm a native Liberian, but I keep it 100. But if you read Liberia history, they will tell you that the Black Americans were they're mean or this and that to the native Liberian. It's all BS. It's all Washington history. The true history. When the Black Americans went to Liberia, they try to educate the people. They try to emerge the native population into they try to Americanize it a little bit, right? But giving their global political stance, it created like a conflict with Washington because Washington was like, oh, these guys, they're preaching Pan-Africanism and they're leaning towards China. Because Liberia policy was this: we don't want to be, we're friends with everyone, so you cannot come in. It was like an open door policy. It was created by Tubman, then Tolbert tried to implement it. Open door policy. Now we would work with everyone. And during that time, the fall of Liberia was during the time of the Cold War. Right? Cold War. Liberia was much more. We want to work with everyone, right? So here comes Tolbert working with men like Gaddafi. He was working with men like USSR, people like the president of USSR. He was just working with everyone, and America saw that as a threat. Standing in West Africa because in Liberia they have the Omega Tower, right? It's the CIA headquarters. So in order for Washington to control Africa, they use Liberia, because Liberia is on the coast. They use Liberia to target Africa. So that was a threat for Washington, giving Tolbert stand. So they had to get rid of a guy, and Liberia economy went from one of the best in the world to right now one of the poorest. But in 2002, Liberia been a democratic country, and it's recovering 14 years of civil war since 2002. It's just transitioning. So if you was to go to Liberia and invest now, your investment going to grow later on, because now they're looking for more Black Americans to come back to invest.
So Henry has brought the conversation. Henry is bringing the conversation, and I want to say to you all, because I see you here, and welcome to everybody who's come in. This is a conversation. That's how we run the format on here. So don't just come in and listen. We're gonna shoot questions because we want to make Henry's time valuable, because he's come with the information. That was valuable, my brother.
So like a lot of Liberians, like I mentioned earlier, 250,000 of Liberians with African American descent. Some of those folks still have their cousins in the South. Like the owner of Essence magazine, Richelieu Dennis. Do you know he's Liberian? He's from Liberia. He was born in Liberia, but raised in America. He came here when he was 19 years old. He's the first Black Liberian owner of Essence magazine, and he's doing just the same thing I'm doing. Pan-Africanism. He's bridging the gap, bringing the culture together. You know what I mean? Because it started off with a guy from Barbados. What's his? I forgot his name. If I remember, I'll bring his name up. It started off with a guy from Barbados who started preaching Pan-Africanism. And when he immigrated to Liberia as a child, grew up there, he became an ambassador to the UN for Liberia. So now being a Liberian, I don't even need a passport to go to Barbados because the Barbadian government said we can come in, we're citizens. Because if you Rihanna and listen to me, you're like, are they cousin? Because we have the same, accent going on. Rihanna, anything island. Because in Liberia, not just the blacks that went to Liberia, but also Jamaicans joined the blacks in Liberia. Barbadians joined the blacks in Liberia. So it was a haven for black progressivism. You know what I mean? But it's something they don't teach. They don't teach you about Ghana, Nigeria. Where all those countries are puppets. They all usually want to poop about the nose. They'll teach you about those countries, but they will not teach you about Liberia. In Liberia, we welcome Black Americans because it's your country as well. You know what I mean? So if you want to retire, it's something you should think about. Is your country where we welcome you guys? It's not like Nigeria, Ghana will not knock those folks, but in Liberia, you'll feel at home. There are still old buildings in Liberia that look like the South. It reminds you of the South. It's like you're walking in past historical times, and there are Black American descents that live in Liberia that could tell you stories from the great grandma or something.
Okay, so you are touching on something that we had talked about doing. We're from the U.S. South. Some folk might say we're in the deep South.
There's a book called Mississippi in Africa. Read that book. It would blow your mind about Liberia. A lot of people that left Mississippi, they went to Liberia. A lot of them immigrated from Mississippi, the state, and went to Liberia. So in Liberia, we have a county. In Maryland, there's a big old, we have the Mississippi River. Everything that is American South is named in Liberia, like Georgia, Virginia. It's all in Liberia. It will blow your mind.
Because I think there is a struggle, especially in the culture of the South, that there's nowhere else in the world like what we have here. And I keep saying where I think the expat lifestyle for Black Americans can really be challenged is there's fried chicken in a lot of places in the world. There are a lot of people who eat black-eyed peas and sweet potatoes, just like you eat them here in other places. The Black expats in South and Southeast Asia is highlighting people who are traveling, who are documenting their journey, just like, and I was just like, they sound like us. They sound like good old Southern girl like me, and I'm recognizing that we are breaking free. We are breaking away from what's been told to us, or like, as you have said, what's been kept from us. And the way that we do that is we intentionally engage. Social media, the internet has really brought the opportunity for us to know more.
That's right.
And so you don't police the group. But I can tell you there are very few times that I'm in there, and I've been in the group for at least a year, where you're right. There are expat groups, and then there are Black expat groups. And I'm just going to be completely honest. The snarkiness, what I would say is I go in, I ask a question, and the disrespect, why don't you just, that doesn't happen. That has not happened in your group. And when you can create a safe space for people to feel like I can find my way, I can raise my hand, those are the spaces where I think if you have been cautious, that you can find your tribe. So, I mean, Southeast Asia is a large area. So you mentioned Philippines, but there are at least, I think I put in the tags of this group, the other countries like Timor-Leste and just other places, Thailand, that we are not just, we are there and flourishing. We are we are capitalizing on opportunities to share who we are as a culture in these spaces and feel safe doing it. So, what are some of the things that you see expats asking over the course of the time that you've had this Facebook group where you feel like, yeah, the successful people do X, Y, or Z to make their landing soft, to have a soft landing, to really be prepared to immigrate into a new culture?
I think one thing that people would constantly ask, would I be accepted?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think acceptance come with when you're comfortable with yourself, and I think the act of acceptance is also like, let's say if you're going to like if you're taking new ventures and stuff like that, right? You need to steady where you're going, and true steadying comes understanding, right? Because no one knows it all. I should dive in those cultures. You learn as you go,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if we're willing for the if we're looking for the world to accept us through our travels, I think we should first come to be comfortable with ourselves. Because one thing I noticed just traveling in Southeast Asia, Thailand, Philippines, Hong Kong, Japan, and stuff like that, is that once you're comfortable with yourself and you're comfortable with who you are, people come to accept you more. And once you're respectful of the culture, because I think living overseas is like there's a huge difference in cultures. Be it from Africa or from America, as long as you're black, people start looking at you through that TV screen, right?
Mhm.
But over them now, there's all side of you. They're like, oh my God, I never knew this about like the black culture and stuff like that. When I go overseas, I try to educate because I started like a record label in the Philippines where I help a lot of young, talented Filipino and Filipinos artists out there, and
Mm.
I'm doing that to try to bridge the cultural gap and to show them, hey, you can look at us in this light. We're businessmen, we're entrepreneurs, and we're not the thugs and gangs you see on your TV, and we're just as good as everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I teach most of the young folks who were part of my record label. Yeah, but usually people will ask the question if they'll get if they're going to get accepted there. I think acceptance comes when you're comfortable with yourself and if you're willing to learn new things.
One of the things that we discuss to kind of we see it from the lens of our experience as Americans in particular, our history, even where we are in the world, our history of enslavement, and what that has meant to us in unfamiliar spaces.
Mm-hmm.
As a man of color, as a black man, that's a big thing. We move into spaces, and will you see me as the angry black man? Will you see me as the aggressive black man? Will you see me as the thief or the thug, or will you only see me as the rapper or the whatever? How I have found in my research observing that it appears, because I'm speaking from the assumption of watching, it appears that Asian people have a very inquisitive nature, and not just an inquisitive nature, but sometimes they are very forward in their inquisitiveness. Sometimes in places that we, especially those of us from the South, we find rude. How do we balance those inquiries and conversations as we build relationships, especially when we're in their spaces?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a great question. Come again. Come again.
Come with it again. Okay. So when we are in their spaces
Mm-hmm.
and they are being their normal selves,
Mm-hmm.
which appears to be a very inquisitive nature, which sometimes can seem forthright. In the South, we are comfortable and laid back, and we have this perceived openness because we speak and wave, but we are in a lot of ways very almost as protective and as people who appear to come from the North. We just do it in a different way. So when we're in an environment with people who are bold, as a lot of Asians appear to be,
Sometimes
how do we balance that so that we don't doesn't appear that they're being rude or being
they
disrespectful?
may ask, they may. So I'm going to use some examples.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My brown skin.
Yeah.
I don't regularly have people to touch my skin, who want to touch my hair, who want to be in my what I would consider to be personal space. I don't know if that's just a Western thing, but and so those things can appear to be
Invasive.
invasive or disrespectful. How can people prepare themselves for that kind of in your face kind of interaction where I'm kind of cautious in nature?
Yeah.
Someone come and ask to touch my hair. Somebody asked me in the airport, could they touch my hair?
Yeah.
And as a Black woman, that is immediately offensive.
That is. I think giving that, I think because I've talked to a lot of folks who also been to all the parts of China, sorry, of Asia, and they have experienced that. Like my best friend, he's married to a Thai girl. He said when they were in China, that happened to him. The Chinese surrounded them, and they're like, "Let me touch your hair. Let me take a picture." I think they do it in such a sense that they're curious about you, want to get to know you, but being that you're from like the other part of the world, like Western world, like America, like us, it's like a turn off, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not used to that kind of thing and stuff like that. I think once you like, I think it goes back to being comfortable oneself, right? Because when you're comfortable oneself and people try to approach you any kind of way, you're usually comfortable with just being in your space. With I'm trying to make it make sense. For example, like I'm trying to make it make sense.
Take your time.
Okay, yeah. So, for example, I'll give like an example. So, I was in a little town called Batangas in the Philippines, and we were shooting a music video for one of my artists, and all the little girls came around. Right? They have not seen an African American person in that part of the world in Batangas. Oh my God, it's Usher! It's Usher! So I just played along. I think what I was trying to get at is for you to play along. And I was like, yeah, it's Usher. Come on, take a picture. Who did the picture next? I just played it. I was like, hey, you come take a picture. Hey, you come here. Come on, give me more picture. What else you guys need? I think just playing along and being friendly and accepting people's difference. Because I read a book by Brenda J. Allen. It's called Difference Matters. I think when we accept people for who they are, we come to allow our difference to speak. Right in the world, right? So I think just being open as you walk through the world, and just accepting people for their difference for who they are, and I think that's the idea of living and traveling and just being who you are as a human being. I think connecting. I think some people. I think one thing that people find very hard to do when they go overseas is to connect, right? I think you cannot connect when you're still in a box or caged off. You only connect when you're free, right? Problem makes us free, right? And all of to be free is to be open arms and go with the flow, but also set boundaries on certain things, right? I think one thing, given that my family is part Asian, one thing I come to realize about them is that when you set boundaries and say what you mean, right, and say, hey, I don't like you to talk to me this way or touch me this way, but we can do things all the way, right? Just setting boundaries and like them, I think is much more important than when you're traveling through Asia.
That's good.
That was a great question. I love that question.
And Engine Grateful makes this great statement here and I think sometimes and I asked that question specifically because I wanted to, but you answered that great, because I think sometimes we forget that we're in spaces where we are learning and educating, that is a normal flow of a good building relationship. We take for granted that we either like each other, we don't, we get along with each other, don't. And when you're in any space with someone who is unfamiliar to you, regardless of where you are, regardless of the circumstances. If you walk into a new job, you have to learn the space and you have to educate people about who you are. Right. And we assume, because we're in a common environment, that all of our commonalities will be the same. And that's not the truth. It's like walking into Africa, and because I'm Black, we're going to all get along. Right. It doesn't always work out like that, because we are different cultures, we are different histories, we are different backgrounds, we have different approaches to things. Our environments are different. That's right. And I think I totally agree with you, Henry. When you have an open mindset to an experience, it doesn't mean that you're going to agree or adapt in all situations. It just doesn't. I mean, there are going to be some circumstances and some environments that don't work for you as a person. Mm-hmm. But when you're more open about it, I think that you run a little less offended or offensive about it. You're a little less defensive about it. Mm-hmm. Because hopefully you can begin to recognize when people are being disrespectful and when they aren't. That's true. Yeah. There are people who in their boldness or in their directness ask questions that we've learned not to not ask. And right. we won't give any examples here, but there are things that we would consider to be inappropriate that people right. in other cultures might ask you directly because they heard it, they saw it, they whatever, especially if they aren't exposed to you as a people. If a group of men were all raised together without women, and then suddenly there was a woman there, you're going to get a response to that. That's just what it is, and vice versa. So you're talking about skin colors, you're talking about head textures, and intentional or not, because it depends on where you are. There are many Asian cultures that have been isolated off. That's right. And so the integration of those of us from other backgrounds up close, outside of whatever they view on their computers or their TV, may bring about an inquisitiveness we're not prepared for.
And I think not in addition to that, as we travel more, we're recognizing that we take the defensiveness that we've had to have as a protective part of our existence in the US, the UK, and other places. And that we can't take that. We have to unlearn that. I'll say it that way. Mm-hmm. We have to unlearn that. That everyone that is attributing pet features to me as a person, where I've had to defend myself in this culture
from pet features.
It is not the intention. They don't come, the people that we're encountering in, as they say, in these international streets, don't come from that same historical place. And so I cannot place on them that defensiveness. We are talking about reasons why Black expats are moving to Asia. And one of the things that I consistently see is it is a welcoming culture.
Welcoming, yeah, very welcoming. I think one thing I noticed just being there, the people were very welcoming. And I think one thing that really stands out is your passport, right? No matter if you're Black American or white American or Asian American, once you have that U.S. passport, just go, right? And they want to get to know about you. Most of them want to get to know about you. Most of them are open. You'll be shocked. We'll be talking about Kobe Bryant and LeBron James and even Barack Obama, right? I think the Asian culture is very welcoming compared to the culture here. I think the culture here, I've been brainwashed into the idea of you have, like the Asian culture here, they've been brainwashed into this idea of looking at Black people in a different light. But sees in where most of the descendants of the people who act like that here are from, they're been brainwashed into in a good way that, oh, these people are actually talented. They have a lot to offer the world,
Mm.
right? And you'll be shocked. You'll be in Bangkok or Manila. They're playing Afro beat or hip hop or trap music, and most of these girls are guys that know most of the lyrics to the song than you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like they want to be black so bad in the world, right? But it's like they want to be something that they understand, though, right? And sometimes the lack of understanding and giving this idea of sometimes the guys who are on top of a brain, they try to brainwash the population. Sometimes you be in Bangkok at the airport, you see Snow White, bleach your skin, not knowing most Thais are as dark as me.
Mm-hmm.
Most Thais are as dark as me. But you're being,
Mm.
it was one of the things that was like a little bit bugging for me when I was in Thailand. I was at the airport in Bangkok and I seen overhead Snow White, bleach your skin. Uh, those are things that used to happen. Hopefully, it's not happening now. But it used to see that at the airport. But it's just come to show that some part of that, though they're welcoming and open minded about all the people, but they're also trapped in time, meaning that. But usually the Asian culture we tie this into like, oh, back in the day when you're darker, that means you work in the field. If you're lighter, you stay inside. I think it's a lie. I think it's European colonization.
Mm-hmm.
I know Thailand have not been colonized, but the Philippines have been heavily colonized as well. First,
Mm-hmm.
300 years of Spanish rule, then the Americans came over and heavily colonized it. But in the Philippines, we as Black folks are much more welcome there because people are used to seeing Kobe Bryant. They're used to um, seeing LeBron James and Barack Obama on the TV screen. And the Filipino culture is just so much welcoming. I think they're called the Black of Asia. Yeah, that
Wow.
the Black of Asia because you're like there you feel at home. Like my friend Kareem been living there for 20 years. He opened up a well-to-do business. He's a consultant. He makes like a lot of money a year. So it's like a space where you're welcome in. Because in the Philippines, there's a lot of U.S. bases.
Mm-hmm.
Brothers and sisters live on those bases, so they've been seeing us since the founding of the country. Like
Mm-hmm.
beginning of the conversation where I talk about David Fagan,
Mm-hmm.
and David Fagan did not leave because when he uh, rebelled against the Americans because he switched sides and American government called him a traitor, he did not leave that country. He stayed there and married to a Filipino wife. Right, a lot of Filipinos don't know that part of their history, but Black Americans actually helped liberate the Philippines from American government. Okay, because there's this thing in the Filipino history. Um, they say the Spanish and American had a war. That's a lie. If you do a research, the Spanish sold the Philippines to the Americans. Okay, and when the Americans came in, they brought their so all powerful army. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and within that army battalion, there's a guy called David Fagan and a few African American brothers and sisters who were in the military who said we cannot come in this country and oppress these people. These people look just like us. Okay, so because of that idea, being that they were oppressed here at home in America, they're like we will not be oppressed. We'll not go over there and become the new oppressor and oppress these black and brown skinned people that look like us. Because in the Philippines, there are people called the Atas, darker than my son, Afro. They're the true inhabitants of the Philippines.
Wow.
Okay, they're black, right? And giving this idea because the Spaniards been in the Philippines for 300 years, and the Spanish took this idea of brainwashing the people. You're lighter, you're better, and you're darker. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Spanish colonization. But the true owners of the Philippines are the Atas, Negritos. Negritos mean black, Afro. And if you giving your history, the Negritos and Atas left. Historians said it left Taiwan long way back because Taiwan was usually occupied before the Chinese came in. It was occupied by dark-skinned people.
Mm-hmm.
Those dark-skinned people left Taiwan and migrated to the Philippines and all the parts. Like Guam was part of the Philippines. America took it over.
Mm-hmm.
So they migrated from Taiwan and moving to the Philippines, Indonesia, and all the parts. Even like the early king of the Philippines, of Manila, he was Indonesian. So Filipinos and Indonesians are like brothers and sisters. It's like
there are so many connections that the awareness can help you to understand. Agent Grateful talked about it. They were talking about when you're going somewhere, you should be aware of the political current political climate and the history so that you understand how people are living together or not living together in a country. Another reason that I see consistently, and it's why East and Southeast Asia are on our list, is the cost of living. The cost of living, your major expenses are a fifth, a sixth of what we are paying here for housing, for transportation, for your cell phone service, your internet. People are looking at where can my dollars go farther? Where can my, where can
income have more wealth?
Yes, where can I take the money that I have, whether it's Social Security, pension income, or I don't have to work as much because my expenses for the things that it takes for me to live my life just don't cost as much.
I'll blow your mind a little bit more. If you have $20,000 right now sitting in your bank account anywhere, that's $1 million pesos in the Philippines. You're already rich. So in the Philippines, most folks live on $300 a month, right? If you're an expat, if you want to live comfortably, you need to at least live on $500 to $600 a month. If you're two, up it up to $200 more, $800 a month. So it's good living, cheap living. And my friend Kareem that moved there 20 years ago, according to him, he moved there with nothing, and now he's in the 1%. He consults for these big business guys and government officials and stuff. Like earlier, he inboxed me. He was with one of the mayors. He was doing some business deal with a mayor, right? So one thing I got from my time being in Asia, which of course I'll go back next year with me and my woman, is this: people are more so focused on the content of your character than the color of your skin. I think color of your skin plays in places like, I will say, Japan, Korea, but in Southeast it's just as darker, even darker than you and I. So and they've been oppressed just like you and I. Okay.
As a person who clearly is a historian of your homeland, of your home in Liberia, outside of your relationship with the lady in your life, why did you become so invested in Asia? What is it about Asia that is the sparking point for you to going as far as even beginning a page in a conversation?
I love that. That's a great question. I walk through life believing in the ideas of Dr. King and along Biko and Mandela, right? That we all interconnected, that we all are going through, where we're all going in life, and life is a struggle. You got to find someone with, right? And I think going through my struggle and being around the world, Ghana, Nigeria, just like that. And I think the reason why I found myself in Liberian English, it says Jew, woman, is because we understand the cultures are not. It's like this, pretty much the same culture. I think one thing that blows my mind about people that leave that part of the world, come to the West here in America, and become judgmental of just Black culture in general, is this idea of ignorance, right? If you look at it, we pretty much eat the same thing. We're not far apart. We're a lot more interconnected. I think the reason why I'm more attracted to like just the Philippines as a whole, because giving it a historical, not just tied with the U.S., but just its history. Like David Figgin, and a Black brother who was welcome in. He fought along with the Filipinos guerrilla. gorillas, and it almost helped feed it to the Americans. Right? I think just that, it just comes to show that we of people of color, be it Black or Asians, are a lot more interconnected and apart. I think the media tried to sell this narrative that we're different, right? I don't think there's any difference there. But if there is difference, I think we should come to accept our differences and try to work on our differences to better our working relations. And I think the Asian culture, towards the Black culture, can learn a lot from each other, right? And I think creating that group is to bridge that cultural gap, because I know they're a little bit kind of somewhere somehow in every part of the world you have people who have this mentality of other people, right? And when I created that group, is to break that mentality. To say, hey, yo, we are the same, y'all. We want to go to Asia. We want to explore your culture. Well, welcomes us in. That's why I created that group.
Opportunities, I think I'm on either the third point or the fourth point, but the opportunities, whether that is to work work in countries that like Singapore. There, when I'm looking at available positions, there are a lot of companies with at least either their home office or they've got a major office in that part of the world. There are, sometimes we say you don't want to go to a country to look for a local job, but when you've got subsidiaries of a US and UK based and Canadian countries that are based in these places, it makes it a very good place to land, whether you're in technology or my field is HR. There are a lot of HR positions that are there. I think the paradigm has already shifted. We need to look at what do you see as growth opportunities as a reason why we should consider Southeast Asia?
That's a great question. I think growth opportunities. I think, like I mentioned earlier about my friend Karim, who went to Southeast Asia, especially the Philippines, with no money, and now he's part of the 1%. I think once you have this experience here in America, you can live anywhere and do any job, right? Given your experience, you being American educated, people respect America's degree overseas, y'all. They do. Okay? Don't let no one lie to you. They do. And if you know what you're doing, they will follow your lead, because guess what? Your country leads the free world. Okay? So your passport goes a long way. It holds power. And if you know stuff and you can actually show people that you know it, your chance of getting a job is at 95% than the people who were actually born in that country. That's how well they respect Americans overseas. Okay, especially where the U.S. influence is huge, like Philippines, Singapore, Japan, Korea. They respect Americans like crazy, especially with a degree. They'll hire you. Especially if you can prove to them what you know. Show them, if you are good at that, you get hired. You get hired. Yeah, because like I said earlier, in most places, people are a lot more curious. But from my experience, it's more about the content of your character than the color of your skin. And once they get to know you in any Asian culture, you're family forever. They will protect you with their life. Yeah. I think there was an American general, I forgot his name. He said, if you want to go to war with the world, go to war with the world. With a few Filipinos, you're going to win.
Because the last, and we always usually round out our conversations with community. I think for the difference maker in looking at, could I live 13 time zones ahead of mine? 13, 14, 16 time zones ahead of mine is the number one for me, but the number five for this is community. What your group is proving is that there is community. When you raise your hand and say, I'm coming, they'll say, welcome, and you should join this local group, for the country, this group that represents this city or city area. What difference maker do you see? And I guess this is a two-part, because we were having a discussion with Aging Grateful, the family that's on that channel just earlier this evening. We have an expat community, people who are new coming in that are transitioning to being immigrants. And then we have people who want to remain expat. Like I want to solely, I feel most comfortable with English speakers. So I'm going to, when you look at community being a difference maker and the hope that people are moving for the experience of another culture, how do you see community playing into making this the beautiful experience that you've described to us this evening?
I think community is everything, right? Connecting with people who are just as like as you and stuff like that. But I also think spreading out is also important, right? So, like let's say when you go to Rome, do what the Roman does, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know the group have the sense of community, which is a great thing. That's the first start, right? But I think the broader start is to immerse ourselves with new experience, and that's the beauty of traveling, right? And I think, giving from my experience, I think if one was to go overseas and go to those countries, right? I think trying to understand the culture and making friends with people who live in that country will help you a lot during your stay there. But also reaching out to communities, because community is very important. Because if you want to feel back at home, like connecting with folks from the States and stuff like that, it's not more important. Also, I think from my experience, like engaging more of the local culture there is much more beneficial than say, hey, Johnny from America, let me go hang out with Johnny, right? But just immersing oneself into the local culture, you learn a lot of things. And that's how doors open, right? When I talk to Kareem, that's what he does. He speaks Tagalog, the Filipino language, and he has managed to immerse himself not just into the Black communities there, but merely so in the Filipino community. And through that, he was able to get government jobs, and he's not even part of the government. He was able to get big position there, yeah. And that's how he was able to scale his business there and stuff like that, because he fully immersed himself into the culture. Yeah.
Good question in the chat. It seems men are drawn to Asia, and I really want to ask that question. He doesn't want me to ask it, but it seems
that's a conversation for another day.
Men are drawn to Asia. Do you find solo women over 50 going to Southeast Asia as well?
Oh, men are drawn. Yeah, a lot of men are drawn to Asia because my woman, she's right there. So I met my woman here. I didn't get her from Asia. I met her here at a college party. But a lot of young men are drawn to Asia because I'll keep it honest.
Shoot straight.
Asian women are they're just like sisters. Okay. And some of these men, I think, they go overseas with this mentality that they're going to find a slave or something. She'll cook, clean, and do all that for you, right? But I think when you go over there trying to marry a woman, if you're trying to find a decent woman, then yeah, but like going to Asia is a preferable choice. Mm-hmm. But if you want to find a slave and act like some of those like men, like the Western men that go over there and engage into stuff like that, then that's bad, right? But the men who are with sincere heart are going over there to find a woman that they want to live the rest of their life with, I wish them good luck. I wish them good luck. And sometimes I'm gonna keep it 100. Sometimes women will only try to marry those men because they want to come to America, they want that green card. It's a fact. Here's a fact. Even my woman, we sometimes joke about it. And I didn't get her from Asia, I got her from here in America. We joke about it. She's like, most of these girls, they see men as like a one-way ticket to to come to America. But not all of my advice for the guys who want to go overseas and get a woman. Make sure you got a job, right? If a woman got a job, she's working a good job, that's a woman you can trust. So she's not there for the green card. If you don't have a job, you're living over there, she's gonna get your back. You find a lot of independent young women, right, that will blow your mind. Independent in Manila, in Bangkok, who have a job. They don't even need that wasting money. They don't even want to come to America. Those are the women that I think young men should focus on. That the ones that, well, I don't want to come to America. I just love him for him. And if you don't have a job, I always support him. You have women like that in Asia. Those are the ones you can focus on. But if you focus on the ones that have nothing, or not to degrade anyone, but looking for that opportunities, they'll act like they love you just to get that upper edge. Then when it comes to America, that's how you have those stories. They have kids by the woman, and the woman leaves. Is because of those ideas. They'll hide their feelings, but once they come to America, boom, boom.
Let's see. So this is Miss America. I found Queen. Let's see. Her channel is called Queen DC. I found that in your group. She is over 50, and she's talking about her experience on the ground. I watched her probably about 3 videos from her last night. The 50 plus solo travelers, because I have a friend, Susie, who just spent quite a bit of time, and she's been making her world tour. She said, I feel safe. So I'm listening to her talk about what does she feel safe about. She said, I can go out at night and not feel threatened.
That's right.
I can walk and not feel accosted by people, in my space, in ways that make me feel uncomfortable. She said, I felt free. These are the kinds of stories. When you get in groups, you're not just willy-nilly on the internet. These are safe spaces. Henry's creating these safe spaces, and people are sharing. He's allowing us to share our channels. You can find young single people. We found a couple of young men. I found Nico and Rocco in your group. They're traveling throughout Thailand and Vietnam and Cambodia. And so you can find where people are talking, identifying how they are traveling, and be able to see this. Can this work for me? There are a lot of use the search box to look for visa questions, for housing questions, for groups that are going to be local to some of the areas that you're focusing in on. Get in there, ask your questions. That is, I think, when you are a solo traveler, you do have a lot of questions. When you're over 50, you want to know, what does the healthcare look like? Type in healthcare in the chat, because people are sharing their stories.
And the healthcare in Asia is great, man. It's cheap. It's affordable. It's not like here, especially Thailand. Philippines have the best hospitals. Thailand, great. As far as interest compared to both places, I would choose Thailand. My woman might get mad, but yeah. Island, big old ocean on the island. Sometimes the internet goes in and out. But like Thailand is really, 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 really modernized. Philippines will blow your mind too. This is modernized. It's like after this video, type in BGC and you'll be blown away. BGC is just like Denver. It's developed, first world opportunities you find there. It's very developed. It's plain streets, right? Yeah, that's where you find the 1%. So if you move overseas, you have a degree and you have a job, you pretty much part of the 1%. Okay, so that 1%, they have Starbucks there, they have Taco Bell, they have McDonald's there. And when I go to the Philippines, I don't hang out in Metro Manila. I go to BGC, Taguig area, and just kick back because it reminds me of home. Okay. Yeah. The reason why in that group I try to keep it free because that's the only way we will connect. When people are free in their space, they can express themselves without being judged. I think that's the beauty of living, right? Because if you can express yourself and share your stories, it will also inspire other people to be able to share their stories. And after this conversation, I'll make you an admin for the group that we can invite more people. Let's grow a bigger and better Black community.
So what's the one major thing you would like for Black potential expats to know about the possibilities of visiting and or living in Asia? What's the one most important fact?
The one most important fact, know that your passport hold weight, okay? And know that being that you're American, right? I think in Asia, like I stated earlier, most of the people that I've encountered, because everyone's experience will be different, right? Okay? Everyone's experience will be different. For us that live in America, who hold the U.S. passport, an American, right? They respect it a lot more, just given my experience. One thing, let me get that one thing out of the way first.
Go for it.
I think one thing that people should know is this: people in that part of the world will see you for you. Any energy you give up, that's how they're going to judge you. If you're a good person, they judge you as a good person. If you're a totally douchebag and you're a bad person, they will judge you as that person. So people in that part of the world, given my experience, they will judge you by the content of your character than the color of your skin.
Got it.
Yeah. Hopefully that answered the question.
Oh man,
absolutely. Absolutely.
And the people that are very friendly, they want to get to know you. They would talk to you at the cafe. They would just start a conversation. Oh, are you from America? Oh, you from Louisiana? Well, tell me about Louisiana. They'll start, start a conversation with you. And if you sometimes I get ignored, I'm like, you know what, I want to talk. Yeah, but they're always trying to ask. Very inquisitive. Very inquisitive. Yeah. They'll ask a lot of questions.
I appreciate the time that you've given to our audience to ask questions, to hear.
Tell us again where they can find you.
Yes. Oh, yeah, because I only mentioned the Facebook group, but they can also follow you on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Give your socials.
At SJ Fans and Henry Johnson Jr. Usually I post about Liberia but I stopped posting about Liberia. But on at SJ Fans, then on Facebook is Henry Johnson Jr. It's the guy with the coat picture of the guy.
And you have a YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel is Egno Records. Is where I create Egno Records is like a company I created in the Philippines, and on that channel you will see all the art I've supported and like the work I've done. So Egno Records is ETHNORECORDS Records. Egno Records.
We will put that in the description as well.
It's been an absolute blast having you here. For all the people who came out tonight on this unusual time for us, thank you for coming on to the live. We appreciate you. As always, we are H&D Abroad. I'm Herman. This is the Boss D. We go live every Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we have these special events like this.
Yeah, so we can reach across, because I know I put it in the group today, and thank you for letting me do that, so that our brothers and sisters that are in Asia can join us. So thank you all so much. Have a good night.
Hold on for us a minute, Henry. Y'all have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.